Okay, so before we start, I need to say something. And I need you to actually hear it, not just listen to it the way we listen to things when we're waiting for the part that feels relevant. Actually hear it. Someone told you that you were too much. Maybe not in those exact words. Maybe it was quieter than that. Maybe it was the way they pulled back when you got real with them. The way the room got a little uncomfortable when you felt something out loud. The way they laughed it off when you went deep and suddenly everyone was moving on, and you were still back there sitting with the thing you just said that apparently nobody else wanted to sit with. And here's what happened. You started to shrink. Slowly. Not all at once. You didn't wake up one morning and decide to be less. It happened the way most quiet damage happens. One small adjustment at a time. Until one day, you realize you're living at half the volume you were actually built for, and you can't even remember when that started. That is what today is about. Not about someone else, not about what's coming, about you, about who you actually are when you stop performing the edited version and just are. My name is Elena, and I want to show you something today. The first card that came out for this reading is the Queen of Swords. And I know some of you are going to hear that and immediately feel a little defensive because the Queen of Swords gets a bad reputation. People call her cold, intimidating, closed off. And I want to just stop that narrative right here because it is so completely wrong for the person watching this. The Queen of Swords sees things. That's really what it comes down to. She walks into a room and she already knows. She's in a conversation, 3 sentences in, and she's already clocked what's actually happening underneath it. She can feel when something is off about a person before that person has done a single thing that looks off on the surface. And that ability, that sharp, clear, accurate way of reading the world, it is a gift. A real one. But here's the thing nobody talks about. When you can see through people, some of those people find that very uncomfortable because they're used to being around people who don't notice, who take things at face value, who can be managed. And you can't be managed because you already know. You already saw it. So what do? They call you intense. They say you overthink everything. They make you feel like the clarity you have is actually a problem. And some of you started to believe that. I can feel it. You started second-guessing the knowing, telling yourself you were being paranoid, giving people benefit of the doubt you didn't actually have, because it felt kinder than trusting what you could already see. That ends today. Your discernment is not a flaw. It is one of the most valuable things about you. The second card is the Four of Wands, and this one honestly made me smile a little when it came out, because it's not what most people would expect in this position. The Four of Wands is a homecoming card. It's warmth. It's the feeling of walking through a door and being able to exhale. And what Spirit is showing me through this card is something you do that is so natural to you that you've probably never once thought of it as something special. You make people feel safe. Not safe like comfortable. Safe like I can actually say the real thing here. I can bring the part of myself I usually leave in the car, and it will be okay. People find their way to you. You know they do. In any group setting, you are the one people eventually end up next to when they want to have an actual conversation. When something hard happens in someone's life, you're the call they make. When someone has been carrying something for too long and they finally need to put it down somewhere, they put it down with you. And you have been holding all of that for a long time. What the Four of Wands is telling me today is that something is shifting because you have been the safe place for so many people for so long. And what Spirit wants me to tell you is yours is being built. Someone is building a space for you the way you have always built it for others, where you can put the weight down, where you don't have to be the strong one, where someone is paying attention to you the way you have always paid attention to everyone else. That is coming, and you deserve it more than you know. Now, the third card, and I'm going to be honest with you. When this card came out, I sat with it for a minute because I wanted to make sure I said it right. Because this card deserves to be said right. The Three of Swords. This is the heartbreak card, and I'm not going to dress it up or soften the edges of it because I don't think that's what you need from me. What you need from me is for someone to just name it. You got hurt, really hurt. Not the kind of hurt you get over in a few weeks and laugh about later. The kind that changed something in how you see yourself. The kind that left a question behind when it was over. And that question, and I want you to notice if this lands somewhere true in your body, that question was something like, was I the reason? Was I too much? Did I love too hard? Need too much? Feel too deeply? And that's why it didn't stay. And somewhere along the way, you answered yes to that question, quietly, without really deciding to. You just started operating from yes, as though it were a fact. It is not a fact. I need to say that clearly. It is not a fact. What happened was not a verdict on who you are. What left was not leaving because you were too much. What left was leaving because it did not have the range to meet you. And that is such a different sentence. That is such a completely different truth. You were not the problem. You were the person that particular situation did not have the capacity for. And there is a version of you on the other side of really believing that which is going to move so differently through the world. The fourth card is strength, and it follows the Three of Swords so perfectly that I actually had a moment when I flipped it. Because here is what strength means when it comes right after heartbreak. It doesn't mean you were unaffected. It doesn't mean you handled it perfectly, or healed quickly, or had it all together. It means you went through it. Fully. You did not skip to the part where you were okay. You actually went through the middle of it, where it was hard and heavy, and some days you didn't know what version of yourself was going to come out the other side. And you came out, still here, still feeling, still capable of sitting in a reading like this and letting things land in you instead of bouncing off. That is the strength card, not the absence of being broken. The proof that being broken didn't finish you. And what I want to say about that, what Spirit is really pressing me to name here, is that the depth you had to find just to survive that experience is now available to you in love, in connection, in the way you show up for people, because you know what it actually costs to feel something real. You're not scared of depth anymore. You've already been at the bottom. You know you can breathe down there. The people who called you too much couldn't go that deep. That's the truth. Okay, I want to do something now, and I want you to stay with me. I want to take the words that were used against you, and I want to give them back to you differently. Because I think you've been carrying someone else's version of these words for way too long. They said sensitive like it was a weakness. But sensitivity is just accurate perception. You feel what's real. You're not making things up. You're reading things correctly and then being told you're reading is the problem. That's not weakness. That's being the most honest person in the room. They said intense like it was too much. But intensity is just presence. Full presence. You actually show up. You don't phone it in. You don't give people the surface version of your attention. When you're with someone, you are actually with them. That is not too much. That is rare. They said emotional like it was embarrassing. But emotional just means connected. Connected to what's real, what matters, what's actually happening underneath the surface of things. The people calling that embarrassing are the ones who disconnected because connection scared them. They said you were a lot. What they actually meant was I don't have enough to meet you here. None of that was about you being wrong. All of it was about the wrong fit. You are not a problem. You are just in the wrong rooms. And that is about to change. Fifth card, the Emperor. And this one felt significant the moment it came out, because the Emperor in the position of who is entering your life tells me something very specific. This is not someone who needs you to be smaller. Let me say that again, because I think it matters. This is not someone who needs you to turn the volume down, soften the edges, be the manageable version. This is someone who has done their own work, who has their own foundation, who can stand next to someone like you, someone with this much depth, this much perception, this much feeling, and not feel threatened by it, who actually wants that, who has been looking for exactly that. The Emperor energy in this person means they show up. They're consistent. When they say something, they mean it. They're not running hot and cold or making you guess where you stand. They're solid. And that solidity, that steadiness, is going to feel like something you have never quite experienced before. Because you're so used to being the steady one, the one who holds everything together, the one who manages the emotional weather of whatever dynamic you're in. This person is going to hold some of that for you, and you're going to have to let them, which might be harder than you think. But that's okay. Spirit is already showing me you're ready for it, even if the idea of it feels unfamiliar. Quick confirmations before the final card. I'm getting a strong S in this energy. Also a D and an R coming through. Names: Sarah, David, Rose, Marcus, Camille. Astrology: really strong Scorpio energy in this reading. That depth, that all or nothing quality, that thing where you can't do anything halfway, even when halfway would probably be easier. Scorpio, also Aquarius. That feeling of being slightly outside how everyone else seems to experience the world, like you're running on a different frequency. And Capricorn is here too. The one who built walls because they had to and is only now starting to figure out which ones are still necessary and which ones are just habit. If any of that resonated, this was for you. The final card is the Star. And I want to tell you what this card means in the position of the quality you carry into every room. Because this is the part that I really hope lands. The Star comes after the storm. That is always where it sits in the tarot. After the tower falls, after the hard thing happens, after the night that felt like it wasn't going to end, the Star appears. And it doesn't appear as a dramatic sunrise. It appears as a quiet light. Steady. Consistent. Just there. That is you. You are the person in someone's life who proves that hard things don't have to make you hard, that you can go through real pain and come out of it still soft, still open, still willing to feel things fully. People don't always say that to you directly, but they feel it when they're around you. There's something about being near you that makes people believe things might actually be okay. Not because you're performing optimism, because you're living proof that it's possible to survive something and still have the lights on. You carry that into every room, into every relationship, into this reading right now. And the person coming, the Emperor energy we talked about, they are going to see that in you so clearly. Because they have been looking for exactly that kind of proof. That quiet, earned, unperformable kind of hope. If any of this felt like it was speaking to your specific situation and you want to go deeper into the details, the timing, what the right next move actually is for you, I do private email readings and the link is in the description. Reach out when it feels right. Before I go, I want to leave you with one thing. Imagine a candle in a room that has been dark for a long time. The candle doesn't apologize for the light it gives. It doesn't make itself smaller so the room feels less exposed. It doesn't wonder if it's too bright. It just burns. Exactly the way it was made to burn. That's you. You were not made to fit the rooms that couldn't hold your light. You were made to find the rooms that were waiting for it. And you are closer to those rooms than you think. I'm Elena. Take care of yourself.